Have you ever wondered why some people in their 70s and even 80s walk with a spring in their step, laugh with ease, and seem to carry a light in their eyes, while others of the same age feel weighed down, tired, or even hopeless? What if the secret is not only about what you add into your life, like exercise or vitamins, but also about what you release? Today, let me tell you a story. It's about two friends, Samuel and Robert. Both men turned 70 around the same year. They had lived through the same decades, seen the same changes in the world, and even retired from similar jobs. But their lives after 70 looked completely different. Samuel was active, cheerful, and seemed to glow with energy. Robert, on the other hand, felt heavy, not just in his body, but in his mind and spirit. What made the difference? It was not money, or luck, or some special genetic gift. The difference was this: Samuel had learned to release certain burdens, while Robert still carried them on his back. And that's exactly what we'll talk about today: the 7 burdens you should release after 70 if you want a happier, healthier, and more meaningful life. Before we dive in, here's a challenge for you. As I go through each of the 7 burdens, choose the one that feels most relevant to you. At the end, write that number in the comments. Let's see which burden resonates the most with this community. Now, let's begin. Burden 1. The weight of regret. Robert often replayed the past in his head. Mistakes in business, opportunities missed, words he wished he had spoken to loved ones. The more he thought about them, the heavier his heart became. Samuel, however, took a different approach. He accepted that the past could not be rewritten, but he could use it as a teacher. When regrets came to his mind, he would write them down in a small journal and then write what he had learned from them. This way, the regret transformed into wisdom instead of poison. Science supports this. Research shows that rumination, the constant replay of negative events, raises stress hormones, which can accelerate aging and weaken immunity. By contrast, forgiveness and acceptance help lower blood pressure and reduce the risk of heart disease. So, here's the tip: let your regrets become lessons, not prisons. If you agree this is important, write number 1 in the comments. Burden 2. The burden of neglecting your body. At 70, some people say it's too late to start exercising. But let me tell you, the body is more adaptable than you think. Robert chose comfort. He spent long hours sitting, watching television, and rarely moved more than he had to. Over the years, his joints stiffened, his balance worsened, and his energy dropped. Samuel, in contrast, began with small steps. Every morning, he walked around the block. He joined a gentle yoga class at the local community center. He lifted light weights, nothing too heavy, just enough to keep his muscles awake. Within months, he noticed he slept better, his digestion improved, and even his mood lifted. Studies show that even moderate physical activity after 70 can cut the risk of dementia, boost bone strength, and keep the heart young. The key is consistency, not intensity. So, if you want to age with vitality, do not neglect your body. Release the burden of inactivity. Move a little, stretch a little, and let your body thank you.
Burden 3. The burden of isolation. Loneliness is one of the heaviest burdens in old age, and it is not just about feeling sad. It is a real medical risk. Research links loneliness to heart disease, depression, and even shorter life expectancy. Robert spent much of his time alone, thinking others were too busy for him. The television became his main companion. Samuel made the opposite choice. He called his old friends regularly. He joined a reading club. Once a week, he volunteered at a local food bank. These connections gave him purpose and laughter. He was not just living, he was belonging. Here's a practical tip. If you feel isolated, start small. Call one family member today. Attend one local community event this week. Even a short conversation with a neighbor can make your heart lighter. If this resonates with you, write number 3 in the comments. Burden 4. The burden of negative thinking. Robert often said, "Getting old is nothing but suffering." His words shaped his reality. He expected pain, so he noticed pain. He expected boredom, so he felt bored. Samuel, on the other hand, practiced gratitude. Each morning, he named 3 things he was thankful for: the morning sun, the taste of fresh coffee, a phone call from his granddaughter. Gratitude shifted his focus from loss to abundance. Neuroscience shows that gratitude rewires the brain, strengthening pathways linked to joy and resilience. It's not just a feel-good trick, it changes your biology. So release the burden of negativity. Train your mind to notice what is still good, what is still possible. Burden 5. The burden of poor nutrition. Food is not only fuel, it is medicine. Robert relied heavily on processed foods, quick meals, lots of sugar, and salty snacks. His energy dropped, his blood pressure climbed, and his doctor added more medications each year. Samuel chose a different path. His plate was colorful: vegetables, fruits, beans, fish, nuts, and whole grains. He drank plenty of water and enjoyed herbal teas. Once in a while, he allowed himself a slice of cake, but treats were occasional, not daily. Science is clear. Diets rich in plant-based foods lower the risk of heart disease, diabetes, and certain cancers. Omega-3 fats from fish or seeds keep the brain sharp. Hydration supports joints and digestion. So if you want energy in your 70s and beyond, release the burden of poor nutrition. Choose food that heals, not food that harms. Burden 6. The burden of stressing about things you cannot control. Robert worried endlessly about politics, the economy, and things far beyond his influence. These worries kept him awake at night and stole his peace. Samuel learned a simple rule: if it's within my control, I act. If it's outside my control, I let it go. He limited his news intake, spent more time in the garden, and practiced deep breathing when stress rose. Modern research confirms this. Chronic stress accelerates aging at the cellular level. It shortens telomeres, the protective caps on our DNA. Managing stress is not just about feeling calm, it's about slowing the clock of aging itself. So let go of what you cannot control. Focus on your circle of influence, your habits, your relationships, your attitude. Burden 7. The burden of thinking it's too late. Perhaps the heaviest burden of all is the belief that life after 70 is only about waiting. Waiting for decline, waiting for sickness, waiting for the end. Robert often said, "What's the point? My best days are behind me." And so, his days became empty. Samuel believed otherwise. At 72, he learned to play the guitar. At 74, he traveled with his grandchildren. At 75, he started writing his memoirs. Every new skill, every new memory gave him fresh meaning. Psychologists call this a growth mindset, the belief that you can still learn, grow, and discover, and it is powerful at any age. So release the burden of thinking it's too late. The truth is, every day you wake up is a chance for something new. Conclusion. Your turn. So there you have it. 1. Release regret. 2. Care for your body. 3. Fight isolation with connection. 4. Replace negativity with gratitude. 5. Choose nutrition that heals. 6. Let go of uncontrollable worries. 7. Believe it is never too late. Remember Samuel and Robert? Their difference was not luck, it was choice. You too can choose to release these burdens and live the years ahead with energy, joy, and meaning. Now, it's your turn. Which of these 7 burdens speaks to you the most today? Write the number in the comments. Let's see what this community values most. And if you want more stories like this, filled with practical wisdom for aging well, make sure you stay connected. There's so much more we can explore together about health, longevity, and happiness in the golden years. Because remember, growing older is not about fading away, it's about shining brighter.